cloud, we keep your calls clear. Sports so smooth, your clients cheer. Smart tech powering your team all day. My call cloud, the cloud call away.
Welcome to the podcast, Peter Holcomb. We've got Peter, Raymond, and Noah today, and Peter is the CEO and founder of Optimo IT.
Yes, sir.
Also Secure Root previously.
That's right.
That's right. And we're going to get into both of those businesses because I want to know your origin story for Secure Root. We talked about it 5-6 years ago, but it's certainly not fresh in my mind. And I want to know, first of all, talk about Secure Root a little bit, talk about why you started that gig, and then talk about why you changed up to Optimo, and then we'll have a bunch of questions.
Awesome.
And tell us about yourself too.
Yeah, thanks
for everybody that's watching.
No, thanks so much for having me on the pod, man.
Yeah, man.
It's great to talk to you. I started Secure Root back during the COVID days to help companies with compliance and IT that were specifically more focused on more of the green industry, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Because the reality is that they still have technology and data that they have to protect as well.
Absolutely.
So we were taking a different spin on it, and that's why the company name was Secure Root, because it was focusing on the green industries.
Well, and see, the way I thought about it was root, access,
That's
shell. And that was a play with
play
you.
on
too.
words,
That's
yeah.
most definitely a play on the words for sure. But then, as we all know, 2020 came around and COVID happened, and so didn't really catch much traction with that business. And I said, okay, well, this is not going anywhere. So instead of just rebranding the company, I actually just dissolved the company.
Okay.
And then from there, what I did was rename the company. I started up a new company called Prime Security.
That's right.
And that business was eventually rebranded to Optimo IT about 2.5 years ago. So Prime Security, we did very little business, much more of a side gig and a hobby at that point.
Yep.
And then rebranded to Optimo IT, as I mentioned, 2.5 years ago. And that's when more of the side work turned into more fractional and then now full time. Yeah, permanent work. So Prime Security really was focused specifically on security, but then I've gotten people and clients say, hey, we need other general IT help as well,
Of course.
which is why I branded over to Optimo IT. So, today Optimo IT is really focused on delivering fractional CISO services, AI security governance, audit readiness work, and then building AI agents for customers to solve novel business process problems.
Or existing
business process. Right. Yeah. It's so awesome to see all of these companies come out and start tinkering with this stuff, but they know that they have a lot of rudimentary and mundane tasks that they can get automated away with AI. They might just not know where to start. And so we come in and help them, show them what the art of the possible is.
set a roadmap up.
Yeah, got it.
Identify the requirements.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, been in IT for 20 years, in cyber for about 13, 14 years now. Most recently, I was the founding CISO for Datavolo, which was acquired by Snowflake in 2024 of November last year.
Oh.
And then prior to that, I was with eMed Digital Healthcare, also as the founding architect, principal security architect, and then appointed to the CISO role within 5 months. So helped them build a security program. That company did very well. We were helping individuals do COVID testing via the nasal swab stuff, right?
Sure.
And we made a lot of good money there, but it was a COVID business, so eventually it died on the vine.
It's going to dry up.
Yeah. And so they moved to new conditions like strep throat, UTI, hair follicle test, any at-home test that could have been done. We were able to go ahead and proctor and monitor.
Okay.
And then be able to give them a certified a result via like a CLIA-waived result that was legit. And they could get the respective medication they needed and have it delivered or go pick it up.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What was the fulfillment process once the test was taken?
We used 3PL, so third-party logistics vendors, to go ahead and get that order fulfilled.
Okay.
And so either if they wanted it delivered, we would say, what's your nearest pharmacy that you want to go and get it from? And then they would put in Walgreens or whomever it was, Publix, in Miami. This was a company in Miami.
Oh, that's cool.
And so then they would get it delivered from there. Or they could just say, we want to go pick it up from here, and then that's where they would go and pick it up.
So the order would just go to whatever the pharmacy pickup location was. Somebody would just go there. Would they just take the test at the pharmacy then?
No. It would be on the Zoom call.
Oh, on the call.
Yeah. So you would come onto our platform.
Wow.
You would then verify your stuff, put up an ID to the camera. We'd verify all that. Use computer vision models to do all that inputting, outputting of the data.
Yeah.
And then a certified guide would come onto the call. They would walk you through the 15-minute at-home test.
Yeah.
Tell you how to administer it. After that sample was taken, they would put that sample into the reagent.
Okay.
And then the reagent would tell you within
Turn
15
a color
minutes
or whatever.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Would they stay at the pharmacy then?
Nope.
So you'd be on the call with them, or they would check back in with you after the reagent hit.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it was exactly that. After they say, hey, please wait for 10 minutes for the result to come back.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and do anything, but just stay close to your computer or your phone. It was a mobile application as well.
Right.
And then they would come back, give you the result. If the result was positive, we had relationships with Paxlovid and Tamiflu.
Of course. Yeah.
So they would just go ahead and give you that medication, and then ask you where would you like it delivered and or picked up.
Wow.
If you were negative, they'd say you're negative. You can go to daycare. You can go to university. You could go and travel. Right? And so this was the means of how people could get around during that time when testing was a requirement.
Was this just Miami, or was this nationwide?
This was nationwide.
Wow.
It was actually international. I mean, people from everywhere were using it. China, India, Philippines. I mean, you name it. It was that time where people needed to test so that they could go do something and be social and whatnot.
So this wasn't just an internal problem solution for a company. This was a service that you guys were offering
absolutely
to the market.
Yep. It was a test to treat service is what it was branded as.
Okay.
And it was a software as a service delivery model.
Sure. Wow.
So
Amazon? What did you guys?
Oh yeah. And we were built on top of Amazon for sure. And in fact, what's so funny, dude, is Amazon bought One Health, which essentially now, if you go onto their platform, they basically have. They're doing exactly what we did, and they're offering 30 different other conditions that they can test for.
Okay.
And why is that? Because they're gigantic and they already have all of the fulfillment partners. They already have all the physicians or everything else. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So Amazon's kind of like that, where you build on their platform, they see what's going on, and like, oh, you know what, we could actually take this over. So
unreal.
Yeah, it was really cool. So, cut my teeth doing a lot of security engineering work back in the day, technical support. After the security engineering stuff, did security architecture. I love designing systems, architecting systems, especially, secure by design patterns.
Yeah. Is that mostly network layer stuff, or is that like data storage, or both?
It's a bit of both, but then it's also got a very big element of compliance to it too, right? Yeah. Most of my job and my careers have been around heavily regulated companies that want to be compliant with HIPAA rules or financial rules, or just general technology like SOC 2 and things like that, right? So
data storage requirements, encryption requirements.
Yeah, identity access management like we talked about earlier. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff. So when you architect stuff, you know that you got to get it right from the onset, because you can't sort of retrofit what you've designed and architected after the fact.
It gets real messy. Yeah. You band-aid a lot of shit in after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So been a phenomenal journey. I'm loving the entrepreneurship route. It's not been an easy by any stretch of the imagination. I know you know that. That's why I admire you so much.
Thanks, man.
You've gone through the freaking hurdles of all
gotta grind it.
The hell.
Yeah.
But it's fun, dude. You know what I mean? I'm excited. I love it.
And this is the part of the origin story that I love the most: the reflection.
Yeah.
Right. What was the pain like? It was never easy. It's never easy. And when people are like, hey, just start a business, buckle in, get ready.
No, and the thing is like, we all had cush jobs when we were, doing our thing. And then it's like, man, you're leaving this cush job that pays you on time every 2 weeks. And then you go to this and you start your own business. It's like, it's net 30 terms and I'm not going to get paid for 45 or 60 days. It's like, I got bills to pay. I got mortgage to pay.
You're floating the credit cards.
You're floating it, man. You're floating it. But, you're kind of flying by the seat of the pants, but it's also kind of like exciting and super, you got to be disciplined and hungry and just keep at it. I think that's the one thing I've learned most is just keep at it, stick with it, trust the process, trust in yourself, believe in yourself.
Yes. Have faith in you.
Yes.
Right? Because you're going to be the best person to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody else is going to believe in you more than yourself.
Dude. And this podcast is a great example of that too, because I post on LinkedIn and stuff, but that's the reality of the situation. I'm a solo founder with, 4 1099s contractors.
Yeah.
They care about the business, but they don't care about the business like I do, right? And they shouldn't. But it's on me to go ahead and talk about the brand, talk about the business, champion the business, champion myself, champion what we're doing, champion our clients, champion the case studies and how we're winning. That's not going to be on them, right? And so that's why it's like, well, when you're the CEO or you're the founder, this is product-led growth, founder-led growth that has to be done by you. And so that onus and the accountability is deeply on us, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And when we put this podcast together in my buddy's basement, a couple years ago, because this is where we're just going over, it'll be 2 years in March. Okay. It'll be 2 years since the podcast had life in any sort of way.
Yeah.
We realized that it's not just about conversations about what's going on in the world and, whatever. This is the way that people are going to absorb information. They're not going to watch the news. They're not going to get ads. They're going to get these tiny bite-sized morsels and they're going to run with that. There's this show called Succession. I bring this up. And one of the characters on the show, one of the writers on the show clearly had this same vision. And he goes, it's not going to be about long form media. It's going to be about tasty morsels, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes tops, right? Morsels of information that people are going to absorb that cover the topics that they want to talk about or they're interested in, cybersecurity, or a handful of other things like inside threats, zero trust security, deepfakes, right? These kind of things, people want to know about that. Deepfakes, that's a big issue, and it's going to get bigger and bigger, but they're not going to watch a whole podcast on deepfakes.
Right.
They're going to get 3-4 minutes.
Yep.
They want to know what the trends are, what to look out for, what do we need to be cautious of, right?
And I think to your point, the short form content, I think we can all agree, it has sort of morphed from the TikTok thing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if we think about our kids and the younger generation, they're ingrained in the short form content where it's every 15 seconds they're getting dripped new content.
Right.
I would hope that we don't have short attention spans like that, but sometimes it's actually really good to be able to just get the message and move on.
Right.
Well,
and first of all, how many people know about Optimo IT in the world?
Not very many.
A few hundred.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe 1,000.
Yeah. My LinkedIn probably, there's like 45 followers on Optimo IT, right? So it's not very much.
Right. And it's fun because, Ray and I will cut a podcast and my call cloud is doing well on YouTube, right?
Love that.
People absorb the content on YouTube. We do a lot of how-to stuff. We do a lot of that kind of, we talk about AI, we talk about this guy, we talk about whatever we want to talk about, that's what we talk about. And we had a video that went on Shorts, it got 1,400 views in an hour and a half. Okay. But, whether they're not in our industry, it doesn't matter, right? Now they have some exposure to my call cloud. They become part of a piece of an algorithm, a part of a data matrix related to what they absorbed from us. 17 seconds was the average view time, right?
Yeah.
We got a bunch of likes from it.
What you're doing is really, really phenomenal because I think a lot of businesses are seeing this pattern, which is to be able to get your brand and name out there, it's really community driven.
Yes.
And what you're doing with your My Call Cloud and then advertising and promoting that on YouTube, that's community driven, right? And so the podcast, all of these things are very much your company, but people latch onto that and say, there's a community behind this. I want to keep following these guys and understand what they're doing.
Right.
And then, who knows if that leads into clients and everything.
Oh, no, we've
else,
already
right?
got a client for this.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe it.
And these short podcasts, they're real people, right? People are looking for trustworthy sources. And, and although I might be scrolling through and having a short attention span, if something catches my eye, I can drill down into it. Oh, these are people I want to look into, sort of like you're saying. Yeah. And so then it's really interesting in this early age of AI that our children are growing into. I am already looking for real sources of information, right? What are the amateur astronomers really seeing?
Yeah.
What
Atlas
are
3i.
right? What are the people on the street in Philadelphia really seeing? Is what the news is presenting to me truthful? And when it comes to cybersecurity, who are trusted voices that I can align with, and maybe I could follow them. So
Yeah,
right and wrong.
absolutely.
Yeah. It's people, right? And when we're talking like this in an unpolished way, honestly, just with each other, people get that, right? They connect with that.
Well, they want authenticity.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is gosh, on LinkedIn, there's so much AI slop everywhere that
Ray was just talking about that.
people are like, it's unbearable at times,
Right.
Where it's just get me something that's actually legit and real and something I can actually learn from and take away, rather than just regurgitated stuff that some machine created for me and I'm posting.
Yeah, and this is now, how long is it going to be? This is just a question I love to throw out before nobody knows that we're not real. Before AI just grabs us in whatever we're wearing and just throws up a podcast based on a script that we just have ChatGPT write.
Oh man,
And that's coming.
it's probably
not-
5 years from now, maybe.
That's not very far.
Yeah, maybe sooner.
Well,
This
you had
leads
said-
right into deepfakes. That's where I wanted to go.
That's what because
Is that where you're
earlier
going with
I'd
that?
heard you say that if somebody captures just a few seconds worth of my voice and my audio and video, that a deep fake can be created from that.
Most definitely. It is that easy where there's technology and software that we can use to go ahead and rip, 2 seconds of an audio file or a video file from previous conversations that you've had, and then use that to upload into the software and then sort of impersonate who you are as a person. Furthermore, we could just take a picture and do that, right? I mean, you look at VO3 or Imagen or all these new sort of models that are coming out for audio and video.
Yeah.
It's practically easy now to do that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, we chat about this before the pod, but
Yeah.
there was a company in Hong Kong that had a deepfake impersonation attack happen against them, whereby the executive assistant and that entire group of executives were deepfaked to wire 25 million yen or dollars to this perpetrator, right? And so it was so realistic and so legit that they were fooled to that extent to be able to wire that money away, from their company and onto the adversary's hands. So that is one of the areas that I deeply, deeply worry about, because the person or the company that is able to create detection technology to be able to detect the nuances and the subtleties and the voices and our facial expressions and the body language, those are the ones that could actually potentially thwart or stop these attacks from happening. But it's such a hard thing to figure out what are those subtle nuances, the twitches or the ticks is what they call them in our blinking or our forehead actions and all this stuff.
Right. The idiosyncrasies of every individual human being.
Absolutely, but the computers and the technologies thereof are going to have to pick up those subtleties to be able to say, what, that's not actually Noah. Mm-hmm. That's a deep fake of Noah.
Right. Yeah. Ask him this security question.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
The only he will know. It's not written down. It's something that he knows at the company party last year, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Blah.
No. I think the security question is beautiful. I mean, I think that's, we're going to have safe words or mechanisms like that to validate that these are real people, or these are real occurrences and not someone just, impersonating me.
So this deepfake was at DPS here in Denver.
Okay.
Not the one you're talking about, but somebody called in and got a principal's check rerouted to a new bank account.
Wow.
Right. And they used a deepfake process to get in through the voice system, get into admin, over the phone, update HR with the new banking information. And that principal didn't get his check the next 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, where's my check at? And they're like, well, you updated your bank account information. He goes, no, I didn't. Right?
Oh, man.
Yeah. And this is here. This was a human being.
Yeah.
Obviously, same thing in China, right? A whole team of people couldn't tell that this individual was, whatever. I'm surprised they didn't just call him. Like, hey, let's we're going to hang up and call you back.
Normally that would be the case, and that's called a BEC, a business email compromise attack that happens. And so this is one of the things that they teach executive assistants to do, which is or administrative assistants. Go ahead and call that person and validate or verify, did they actually mean to wire this money or ask for that money to be wired, right? And so this sort of like secondary trust but verify is what's going to happen with all of this stuff that's coming out with these new technologies that we all really enjoy using, but pose a lot of risk to us.
Yeah. The comforts of using the simplicity of all the automations built in and the ease of transferring money from point A to point B.
Technology, it's like a double-edged sword though, right? Yeah. For as much good as it can do.
Comfort.
That actually, so Peter, that brings up a great question. I think what a great segue. I heard you saying that, the companies that are going to be growing or, coming to the market that are will they be able to identify this is a deep fake or not? Even when they reach that climax, I can identify it. The technology is moving so fast.
Right.
How they're always going. I feel like the recognition and verification technologies are going to be falling behind, and always sort of behind. The
slightly behind.
Yeah, and so then it becomes ever more difficult. I was thinking, there's been, I thought, some talk about having like a crypto key or some sort of unique identifier that we could have a layer of trust with these, digital assets that are being created.
There is definitely something like that going on now. I think it's where do you put that source of truth? And house it appropriately somewhere that it cannot be tampered with. Yeah. So the blockchain is normally what comes to people's mind, right? Because it's a peer-to-peer ledger that it can be verified and generally not as easily hacked, although it's not impenetrable.
Right.
So to your point, I think maybe that's a way we can have sort of a digital signature of types to validate that this artifact is legit.
Yeah.
But gosh, with the technology moving so fast, the good guys are having to be one step ahead of all the bad guys, and the bad guys are using the technology just like we're using it to do all the protections. They're using it to break us down and
exactly
and hurt us.
Penetrating.
Yeah,
because we have this conversation.
Weaknesses.
We have this conversation from time to time. Like, if we're going to have a video, is the video going to be authentic, and is it going to have an NFT token on
exactly?
It? Is it going to have an authentic checksum algorithm, whatever it might be, and does that exist on the blockchain? And can it be verified?
And Lord help us.
Was this authentic video? And then as YouTube or whatever the video Rumble or whatever shows you're watching video content on, or whatever platform you're watching video content on, they're going to have some mechanism to go check, right? Yeah, this checksum is correct, right?
100%.
The original copy is the copy you're being played.
1,000%. And this goes back to the hashing algorithms, as you're mentioning, right? Yeah. This is what verifies integrity and making sure that this is actually legit. I think the blockchain is one way you can do this, but there are probably new methods that are going to be coming out as well that people are going to be figuring out that this is less easily hacked than existing models that we've been thinking about using. So, you look at, I'm going to sort of switch topics for a second, but Anthropic came out with what's called Model Context Protocol, which is how AI and LLM systems do a tool calling to other ancillary systems like Google Drive or HubSpot or Salesforce, and they bring that data into the LLM
for other content.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
For other context.
Yes,
and so this is to make sure that the LLM or the AI doesn't hallucinate, which effectively means making shit up.
Yeah.
So to prevent that, they have tool calling that happens, and so that might be a way, or a new protocols get created to basically help us validate and verify that these are legitimate people or these are legitimate artifacts,
right.
Whether human or digital. These are going to be the ways that we can have these mechanisms to do the verification that we need.
Yeah. So you have authentic pieces of content, or you're getting less hallucinations. You're getting more accurate data, more accurate responses to your prompting.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And today the best way we can do the real-time context is what's known as RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, whereby information gets vectorized in a vectorized database. That information then gets called by a large language model to be able to have that additional and supplemental context so that it doesn't make stuff up, right? When in November of 2022, GPT was released, it was just making shit up all over the place. You know, it was like, oh, this diagnosis came from Stanford. And then people would like go and look at the paper and it was like, no paper existed. You know, it's like, what the hell's going on here? And it's like, oh, I'm just making shit up, you know? But now we can actually ground these LLMs with sourceful and truthful information, thereby allowing us to see the data lineage to say, okay, this is legit.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's going to be an artifact of the response as well. Like some sort of, how did you get the sources of your information?
You got it. You got it. Yeah. I mean, if you look at today, I mean, if you go to GPT,
lineage.
You go to today, you can see that it'll give you the output and it'll say, here's the source, right?
Okay.
In the past, it was not doing that. And so data lineage, chain of custody is what it's also known as, or provenance is another word that describes what I'm talking about.
Provenance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know this because my previous company that was acquired by Snowflake, Data Volo was doing an embedded data provenance into the pipeline that was being able to get the data from source to destination.
Okay.
So we were able to see the full lineage of where did it source at, and then where did it go to. So if it's sourced at a Google Drive, and then we were doing some API calls over an S3 bucket, we'd be able to see that entire audit trail.
And you would just parse it out on the back on the receiving side. You would just say, "Oh, give me the data sources."
We'd give me the metadata as well, right?
Metadata,
the metadata is the data about the data that allows me to tell you. This is what's up.
It came from Encyclopedia Britannica, volume 12, page 42.
But it's a tracking mechanism. Who touched it last, at what time, what changes were made. I remember speaking on a ski lift to a gentleman at a law office, and he was in charge of the documentation and keeping track of the changes of that documentation. It was a big headache.
Chain of custody.
Yeah, chain of custody, 100%.
Well, it's the same thing with the hard drives. Doing a forensic process.
Oh my gosh, it's deeply important for that.
Super important.
That's digital forensics investigation IR, right? I remember doing that.
I worked for a company called Helix Pro just for a month, right? And it was an open source group. They put together a bunch of tools. They were all Linux tools, I think, for the most part. Maybe a couple Mac developed tools, but it was that process. You put the disk in, the drive is obviously connected via a remote dongle or some sort of caddy, right? And then you're just grabbing that data and imaging that off. And I sold for them. Obviously, I knew what it did, so it was easy for me to talk to the people that were interested in this process. But like a lot of police stations and a lot of departments would buy a copy of the software, right? And it was, since it was open source, it was like you had to buy the CD, which was like $3.99. And then, of course, that included some support, right? $399, not $3.99. But, how to use it, how to walk through it. Here's a phone number to call. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many layers to security, right? I mean, having been doing this for a long time, I'm CISSP certified. But one of the things they teach you in that certification is that it's a 1,000-page book when you study for the exam. But, they say it's a mile wide and an inch deep. When I was studying for it, it used to be 10 domains, and they've now condensed it into 8 domains. But the amount of information that is in that book is so vast and touches on all facets of security. One of the areas in which you're talking about, which is basically physical security and hardware security, right? We tend to know about it as more of a software play and the digital security, which is cybersecurity. But there's a lot of physical security elements that come into everyday offices, right? The bollards that are in front of your office, the fire protection and fire suppression technologies that are in data centers, the IDF closets, the labeling, the check-in, the badges. All of these things are physical security elements, right? And so
the fence,
100%
that goes around it, the parking lot, the outside video security camera footage, how tall the fence is.
That's right.
Does it have spikes on it? Which way did the spikes go?
Yes. Dude, it's so awesome. I love this stuff. I think it's, it's one thing to be like a bad guy, because I was doing security engineering and pen testing back in the day too, like breaking into shit, and I was like, this is cool. But it's also really cool to be able to protect stuff. And come in and say, look, you guys are kind of deficient in these areas. We should probably button it up. And here's what we need to do to get this cleaned up. So you got the red team side of the house, which is all attack.
Right.
And then you got the blue team side of the house, which is sort of the protectors,
yeah,
right?
Penetration testing.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 15, 16, almost 17 years ago, we were setting up an office in Westminster off 104th and Church Ranch, and we didn't have any Wi-Fi at the time. And of course, you can just go find Wi-Fi usually, right?
Yeah.
But you can also download, things that will help gather what the Wi-Fi information is inside of those packets, and then eventually you have Wi-Fi.
They also call that war dialing, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
where you can walk, you just drive around the neighborhood and find the open SSIDs, and you're off to the races.
You're off to the races, I know. Unless you're on the FBI surveillance van Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
exactly. How many of those there are out there? I have one in my neighborhood.
Do you have one?
Oh yeah.
Is it your house?
No, it's not. I do something really goofy, so it doesn't what the heck is this? So people would sort of be thrown off by, and they would probably avoid me because everyone else in my neighborhood is, some college students, and then so many residents. It's CTL NK 9621.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a CenturyLink something.
We know what the password is for that one.
Yeah, right.
Especially if they have the WAN open.
So it's interesting. WarDrive, it used to be we could pretty easily find open networks, but power to the people. Thank goodness. A lot of times I find that the networks are shut down. These home networks. Thankfully, the grandkids are helping the grandparents.
Well, it's the manufacturers.
I was just gonna say that, dude. Yeah. It's defaultly done, right? So we're gonna defaultly protect your SSID, but there's still default credentials. So it still behooves you to change the password.
I know. So physical security, interesting that we can circle back on that a little bit. At our colo, at our data center, downtown Denver, it is a 5 biometric access process. 5.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot to get into one of our spaces, right? Outside, key badge.
Are you guys have to do like an iris scan and stuff?
2 key badge. Well, it's 2 key badge, so that's not biometric, but 2 key badge. Then it's fingerprint, digital access code, and a card. So 3 at the door to get into the secure area. Then once you're in the secure area, that's like a holding area.
Man trap.
Break room, man trap, bathrooms, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Then to get into the data center, you got a badge, fingerprint, and then you're back in again. Then one more badge, one more fingerprint, and then we're actually in our data center cage. Into the cage or into the room, then you have a 4-digit code you have to put onto the cab. So we've got like 7 or 8 steps. In fact, one of our guys just had to run down to get to a network setting for one of our replica servers because he jacked up one of the network routes, one of the IP routes, so he had to run down there and get it. So he just went through that process.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the level of security for your guys' stuff, can you imagine what it is for some of these bigger enterprises and the government? You know what I mean? It's like, goodness gracious.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. It's a lockdown fortress.
It is. But we're,
I hope it is.
We've been really,
exactly.
We've been really fortunate. We started down in Vitality, had a little colo down in Centennial off of County Line Road, just on the other side of Park Meadows Mall, and it was a garage. All right, so it was a garage door. Right, it was a relay center basically for voice over IP.
Okay,
that's what it was. But it wasn't adequately cooled. It didn't have filtered air. It didn't have backup generator, appropriate automatic transfer switches, batteries, UPS, all that stuff that you need in order to keep your things running so that when your clients need to connect, they can connect, right? So, and then we moved from there to Iron Mountain, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, Iron Mountain's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. They know what they're doing.
Well, and they were Fortrust before, and when they were Fortrust in the Magnus Group, I thought the quality was going to go down when the Iron Mountain bought them, but it maintained. It stayed the same. The process has changed a little bit, but they really didn't lose quality. So
nice.
That was really nice.
I know CoreSite's another big one here too.
Yeah. It's out by 470, right?
Yeah.
East side.
Yeah. I'm not very familiar with them. I've used Iron Mountain in my past life for other companies, so that's the most familiarity I have with a provider like that. But I know CoreSite's doing some pretty cool stuff too.
You get to kind of know the security people there. Right? Yeah. They kind of see you. You're like, oh, I know this guy, Dude, it's really cool and kind of interesting. Data centers are, I don't want to say making a comeback. Yeah.
But they're kind of making a comeback with regard to all of the AI stuff that's happening and how much compute you need and then how much GPUs and CPUs you need, right?
Absolutely.
And I was reading an article recently the I forget what CEO it was, but he was saying the blue collar labor workers for those industries are going to be very much needed. Yeah,
HVAC.
Yeah.
Setup guys.
Oh,
DC power.
Elon, right? He put out a 2x X, I'll double your salary. Come help build this facility for me, right? Yeah. And people dropped what they were doing to earn double because he's in a race to get ahead.
Yeah. And we need data centers. But I think the other part that's going to be huge as well is power.
Oh, yeah.
And energy.
Huge.
We're consuming so much of it now that we are trying to find people that can give us power to power all these AI systems and the CPUs and GPUs.
Right.
So I've heard talks about nuclear power reactors and nuclear reactors coming back, right? So
mini. They're talking about mini,
that's
micro nuclear small ones that can do a couple megawatts a day or whatever.
Just to satisfy the co-location facility.
What were you saying? One of those data centers was doing 2.8 gigawatts
in
a day?
Indiana, right?
Indiana,
right? They built a huge facility. It's consuming 2.2 megawatts.
Denver
already.
uses 1.8 megawatts.
Wow.
As a city.
Oh, okay.
Per day.
Yeah, and this is like an Amazon-funded data colo center. It used to be farmland, and now it's been converted. They're consuming 2.2 gigawatts a day.
We haven't confirmed Raymond's sources, but I'm finding him to be true most of the time.
No, I think that's probably accurate, right? I mean, my gosh.
You look at what China's doing. They have been putting up renewable energy sources on their land, and they have far outpaced us. We are far behind.
Yeah. We're going to need a lot more power. That's a great point. These little micro nuclear facilities, they're going to be excellent. I think because they're going to be isolated to probably that plot of land that the data center's on.
Right.
So you're not going to have transmission problems. It's going to be bus bar right to where you need to distribute the power. Hopefully. Yeah. What else we got? How's Optimo going?
We're doing good. This first year, and I say this first year because we've been around for 2.5, but this was the first full year of me saying, you know what, I'm going in all in, and we're going to go for it. And in the beginning, it was very hard. As of September, we started catching more traction.
That's awesome.
And so, we're not making buku bucks, but we're making traction and we're winning clients. Yeah, and paying the bills. And we have some really good opportunities in the pipeline for next year. So this year we're making revenue and likely will be profitable by the end of the year, if not by January. So that's fantastic. And then
more power to you.
Yeah, man.
Cool,
Thank
man.
you.
That's really good.
I really appreciate that. And next year we'll do better and continue to get better. But I think one of the things I've learned is that nothing happens with the snap of a finger.
That's right.
We have to plant the seeds. We have to curate the relationships. We have to show our face. We have to do all of the things to promote the business, and then just show up every day.
That's it.
To make things happen. And I think part of that is because people don't want to know. Are you going to be here for 1 year and then die on the vine, or are you going to be around for a while and see this thing through to make sure that you can be a long-term partner that we can grow with?
Yeah, I mean, my call club just went over 14 years.
I love that.
So it was the same thing. It's exactly the same story. How long are they going to be there for? Right. Is this just going to be a hit wonder? They're going to be 6 months and they're going to be gone. Then we have to change our whole business process. We have a client that has been with us for 14 years. Man,
there's no better testament and there's no better compliment than that, man.
Yeah, right.
That's such a beautiful compliment.
I know. And we're lucky.
It's because, first of all, you guys are a good team, but it's the value and the service you deliver too. They can count on you and you're reputable, and you guys get things done. I mean that's such a great compliment to be able to say, yeah, we have this customer and they've been with us for so long.
Yeah.
Because there is so much competition right now in all of the industries.
There's a lot. Yeah.
And so people can just up and go. Here's the other thing I was recently talking with somebody about as well. In software, people would say, oh, let me get a 3 or 5 year contract so we can get, economies of scale and get better discounts.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because of AI and everything changing so fast, everybody's like, I'm just going to do a 1 year contract.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what's going to happen next year.
Or it goes month to month.
Yes,
month to
exactly.
month, yeah.
Right. And here's the thing. We've been month to month since we started.
Okay.
So, and what I like about that, and I like that the industry is going this direction. I'm glad you brought this topic up because when you're month to month, you have to show up every day, every month.
Yes.
Every fucking month you have to perform. There is no, well, they're a 5-year contract. There's none of that.
No.
None of that.
No.
You have to be on your toes at all times, right? I think we just went over like 100,000 hours of uptime too.
Yep.
So, you know, beyond all that, right? Making sure your shit just runs.
Yeah.
And your month to month.
it's a double whammy.
But I'm a nerd, and I came with that concept. I came with that. What am I going to do to make sure that this thing is rock solid as possible? Put in great security. Put in dual layers of firewalling.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Make sure that if I have a 1-to-1 NAT open, I've only got a couple ports open on the end device, right? The endpoint that needs to be accessed, and then I have an IP address from the person or the entity or the group that's trying to access that, or I have a process that's an authenticated process to grab the IP address, do something with it, save it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's beautifully architected.
Yeah,
it was well thought out.
Well, I was probably high. I'm just saying.
Well, it was architected out of necessity.
It was architected out of necessity, probably on a
industry.
10 milligram gummy.
I love that.
Yeah, and I was like, what am I going to do here? How am I going to dual, firewall all this equipment and make sure that there's no Windows exposed? Like, we have one Windows machine. The only thing that thing does is report. That's it. We don't access it to get to the world. Nothing. It just talks to databases and produces PDFs or Excel sheets, and that sends them to people. We have 164 Linux servers.
Yes, love Linux.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
All of it. All Linux. FreeBSD, OpenSUSE. We have a couple of the flavors in there depending on what we need. We have a Red Hat here or there. We did build an AI agent to interface with that base 64 payload we were chatting about.
Yeah.
And so we've got that bidirectional payload structure, that foundation set for any voice chat bot company that we need to integrate with in a more intimate way. Most of the time we're just doing SIP to SIP. We're just getting voice, right? Just delivering payload. But. Yeah,
on that AI agent topic, I mean, I have 12 agents running in my business today.
Okay.
And so
let's talk about those.
We are drinking our own champagne, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that we're an AI security consulting company, but we're also tinkering with AI agents to help us be more productive, but also alleviate the administrative burden that some of these, repetitive tasks we have to do every single day, right? So these things could be a chatbot on my website that's relayed and integrated with my Slack instance so that I can have a real-time conversation with the prospect.
Oh my God. You go website to Slack?
Yes.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah. And then through an AI agent.
Of course, some API or middleman, right?
You got
AI
it.
Agent. Yeah.
Then we have one for I've talked about this in the past, but it's for lead generation where you can go and scrape a contact list like Apollo or ZoomInfo, take that information, plug it into a spreadsheet, then have that spreadsheet called from the agent. That agent then does a 3 email outreach sequence over a 10-day period.
Okay.
We prompt the agent with a personalized message to say, hit up Noah. He's the guy at Call Cloud.
Yeah.
Find out what he likes to do based on his, different pages, and then use that to personalize the message.
Oh my God.
And then now I will say that we don't do it as much because we're too small to do cold email outreach.
Right.
But
you'll have sprints where you run. Yeah.
The possibility is more than there.
Yeah.
Right. But we'll have agents to do compliance. So we'll dump in different compliance frameworks into a knowledge base, and then we can query that compliance to ask it questions so that when a customer asks us, do we need to do X, Y, and Z, we can say, yeah, let me get the answer for you, right? Yeah. I built an AI observability agent. That agent basically observes other agents and understands the inner working guts of what they're doing, the performance, the search latency, the tokens used, input and output, the relevant cost associated with it.
So you're like measuring the performance of another.
You hit it on the head, dude. It is literally called application performance monitoring. Mm-hmm. And that's in traditional software. It's known as logs, traces, and metrics. We're going well beyond that now.
Yeah, it's
and that's partly because we're moving into a territory called LLM observability or AI observability that has to account for all of the various things that these LLMs are doing to be able to alert us or just inform us of when shit breaks or when hiccups happen, and so that we can go and triage it if it's affecting production systems.
Or maybe an efficiency thing.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah,
performance for sure.
Okay.
Everything is tied around performance, and so in application world, it's application performance monitoring. In the security world, it's security information event monitoring.
Yep.
And then now we're moving into AI observability and LLM observability, and there's we thought it was like 3 elements. It's probably more like 20 different elements that are being monitored and measured continuously to make sure that these things are working on an uptime basis. That's 3 nines or 5 nines. Are giving you the right information by reaching out to a knowledge base or a vectorized database, making that call happen. APIs are working appropriately. Rate limiting is working appropriately. There's just so much to account for.
And like, what are the hooks you're listening for on that? Like, is this just data that's being stored back to a database as far as the measurements go, or is this how are the measurements being recorded?
The measurements are being recorded through different APIs for sure.
Okay, for APIs.
You can use like syslog feeds and traditional ways of how security was done, but everything is so REST API focused nowadays that's what we're doing and getting all this stuff. And it's so great now because everything has been micro.
Time out 1 second. So the agents themselves have API calls available for these measurement pieces. I'm taking the agent, and then in the agent, I'm making a webhook call or an API call to the said system. But these aren't default out of the box. You built these?
That's correct. The agents are templatized from Lindy.ai or N8N or whatever the platform is.
Right.
The API calls would basically either we build those APIs or they're already readily available in the adjacent system.
Right.
And then all we have to do is use the URI or URL endpoint and then implement the bearer token or the authentication token to feed that data and have it relayed via a bidirectional feed.
And then store it somewhere.
There you go.
Analyze it later.
Yeah. And we do store it actually. I built it that it would be stored in an S3 bucket for archiving purposes.
Yeah, of course.
And so if you're a HIPAA company, we know we have to archive it for 7 years, right?
At least.
For a finance company, it's probably 7 years.
Yeah.
So we've done the whole thing where, okay, well, what's the regulation? Well, this is the regulation. Okay, well, let's just build that into the initial onset and not wait for after the fact.
That's cool. And then you probably have a dial or a lever or something. Hey, I need 8 years now. You just change the variable.
Dude. And the new thing that we're working on right now, I'm actually trying to trial this with a client that we just spoke with yesterday. Is the monetization playbook. So these agents, because they're doing and delivering what's called outcome-based delivery models, or they're fulfilling a task, they're giving you a decision, and they're really delivering outcomes which provide value.
Right.
We have to be able to monetize that.
Right. Yeah.
And so,
what was the cost to get to that value?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, was it how many API calls? How many tokens were burned?
Yeah.
What was the credit usage?
Right.
These are how OpenAI and Anthropic and all of them are doing that. They're using companies like Metronome. Metronome is then allowing them to white label this, and so you just think it's OpenAI, but that under the hood, it's all Metronome's APIs that are fetching all of these details, and then they're presenting it in a billing like dashboard, so it can show you this is how much of everything happened, and then we can price and bill the customer accordingly on a usage-based model.
Wow.
So that's what we're moving into.
All this stuff is emerging.
Yes, sir. That's what I love, dude.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Because it's...
You're on the cutting edge.
Yeah.
You're on the knife edge, literally.
And it's just... It's scary.
Yeah.
But it's so exciting and rewarding to be able to see something come to life after you've tinkered with it and put it together. You know?
Exactly.
People keep saying it, but the reward is in the journey. You know what I mean? And that's where I think I'm at right now, is that nobody really knows this stuff. We're all learning it together right now, and we're building it together. And certainly the ones that are building it right now are a bit further ahead, but maybe there's new ways of being able to attack these problems that become much easier to be able to solve with a one-click button, right? But right now we're really diving in deep to figure out what is that one-click button going to be.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the Python project, just putting the voice payload together was 18 days. And it was 18 days and 3 three AI agents. It was DeepSeek, ChatGPT, and Gemini.
Yeah.
Right? And Gemini would hallucinate, I'd move over. And then DeepSeek would hallucinate, I'd move over. So you keep going from one to the other until you got the threading model you needed in Python or whatever the functions were you needed to build. You'd have to kind of piece it together. I mean, it wasn't perfect. But, after a ton of iterative trial and error testing, it finally started to produce. And I was like, okay, all right. I see some light here, But it was a lot.
Great experience. Yeah. 8 months from now, a 14-year-old is going to tell Claude or ChatGPT to do the very same thing.
Yeah, I know. I need a chat agent. And it's going to be like, here you go. Right. And there's the code.
Yeah, there's going to be.
I know. But I think it was, for me, the learning process, the learning of that stuff, of Python, of how Python multi-threads in a very intricate way, right? You have to really dig into what race conditions are and all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then just peeling the onion back on that was extremely beneficial and it wasn't just me, it was me and Matt Scott and a couple other developers here at My Call Cloud that have now got the exposure for this code base, right? So the next thing, whatever that thing is, if we push the button, at least we know what it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's chunking payload and it's delivering in a base 64 or whatever it is, whatever the thing does. But dude, it's an exciting model. And it's an exciting industry for us, too. It's always changing. Voice over IP landscape has changed immensely.
I believe it.
Call delivery has changed immensely. The platforms we're going to be chatting with on people are changing daily, right? The WhatsApp, the Telegrams, the Signals, right? All these other app-based things.
I would ask you guys, voice agents are becoming quite the thing right now.
Yeah.
And so what are you seeing with regard to using those agents for call center operations or whatever it might be?
That's a great question. Actually, Ray has probably a little bit more intimate knowledge. I'll just touch on it and then I'm going to let you pick it up, okay? But right now we have customers that are using it primarily for reaching out, verifying right party contact, right, and then transferring back to a human being and then selling that process or fulfilling that call, whatever the need is there.
Okay.
Or inbound, appointment scheduling, whatever it is.
Right.
We have got people attaching to the phone network today, voice agents that are doing these things. And most of the time we're delivering, via SIP. We're not necessarily doing base 64 chunked.
Are you finding it's efficient? It's relatable. It's legit,
Your fallout rate is about 30%. So it's not perfect.
Okay.
But does that 30% account for the savings in revenue or the savings in expense for human beings? So is that fallout rate acceptable based on the outcome of net revenue? Right. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
And we're right there at the event horizon where it's going to be 28%, 25%.
Sure.
Now it's manageable.
Okay.
Because now your net revenue doesn't drop out. You don't service your customers.
Yep.
So it's interesting. You're going to save money on HR, but you're going to lose out on a little bit of business. Now, why don't you dive into a couple, like Infer, what are the other customers doing with the agents?
Well, you provided a great example there. And, we're seeing that we serve the SMB market. So we don't, have clients that have, they don't have Fortune 500 budgets. And so they've been going with sort of these secondary players. And the early renditions were not ready for prime time. A lot of times the CEOs, like 80% of the first runs were, they just failed and they were kicked to the curb. But now, right, we're seeing in the adoption, it's just getting better and better and better. And so now we're seeing other use cases, right? The confirm the appointment. How much wasted time is there chasing people down? And so you hand that job over to an AI agent, or the annual renewal, because it's a standard set path. The LLM knows what the conversation, what channels that conversation should go on. And so where we're seeing the success is, like Noah said, is the right party contact, right? The verification, the appointment setting. So specific use cases. We don't see at our level where the agent is fully omni-channel, but we're so close, right?
Yeah,
I suspect in 2026 on our network, we're going to see omni-channel. The chat is going to flow through into the agent, into the SMS, and the agent that receives the barge out call because the AI agent couldn't handle it.
Right.
And that's sort of the trend where I was going to go with this too. Like right now, we have some clients are replacing 10, 15, 20% of their agent base. And with the coming years, it's going to improve. And what's interesting too is the AI.
As long as the fallout rate doesn't exceed your revenue, right? So it's not the same for everybody.
Right.
But yeah.
And I was just going to say that the AI can, there's a lot of extra benefits too, right? You reduce that $25 an hour expense of the human, but you have embedded analytics, you have reporting, you have opportunities, because the AI recognizes people that typically talk about this type of service also need this product. And so it's real easy for the AI agent to, hey, we see that you also, we're offering a special. How about, would you be interested in purchasing an XYZ now?
Yeah, right.
And, the revenue is, I think that's where we're going to see a trend.
Nice.
As the AI agent is also going to help upsell.
Yeah. I know it's funny because one of the previous companies I was working at, EMED, the one in Miami.
Yeah.
We were looking at doing this, whereby the proctors and the certified guides would be on the call, but it would be done by a voice agent.
Right.
And if the patient or the person on the other end of the line was disgruntled because they knew they were talking to an agent or a robotic voice, they'd say, "Get me back to a human." And so the certified human would come back on the call.
Yeah.
Do a little bit more of the call and then drop out, and then the agent would continue on and complete the call, right? And so it was kind of a tag team effort.
Yeah.
But it kind of went back to, well, what was the billing model, and sort of this human would only be paid for sort of the gig part of the
Oh, really?
Yeah. The monetization model was like, if you're only going to be using the human at this point in time, we're only going to pay you for how much of the call you facilitated.
Wow.
So
the human has to be there listening.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
And so we didn't get to that point, but we had talked about that. We even mocked it up and tried it, but it didn't successfully work. But as we move into this sort of gig economy world, you look at Uber and all these other things, they're only getting paid for the things that they do, right? And then you're waiting for the next one and waiting for the next one.
They're not
kind of the same
clock.
thing with the calls. The customer service.
We've seen that already too. Paying agents for their active time.
Talk time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Very true. I mean, those are contracts you present, and if everybody's happy with the outcome, then everybody's happy with the outcome.
Well, and then that's just it. This is why the monetization models have to catch up.
Yeah.
Because if you think about traditional software, what do we pay for? We paid for the license, which just give you a seat to be able to use the application and or realize and use the new features that came out.
Right.
Now, it's probably going to be a hybrid model, which is Raymond's got a license, Noah's got a license, I have a license. That's 3 licenses. We're paying for those. Yeah. And then there's going to be outcomes that get delivered from that, and that's value that we seek. And so there's going to be some monetary value that's tied to that as well, right? So especially as we move into more agentic workflows, this is going to become more prevalent. Right now, I think we're still at what we would call automation, very Boolean in nature, if-then-else statements that do something and then die.
Sure.
But then you have workflows, which are they're calling an LLM to do something that's an agent function, and then they're still really, automations.
It's still not coming back 1-0 though. It's coming back with context of syntax, right?
Yes.
Or whatever.
And the other part is, though, the last part of this is the agentic, which is fully autonomous, adaptable AI systems that have no human in the loop element to it, right? And so Noah gives it an instruction, it goes out and does this stuff. A good example might be like you want to go out to dinner with your wife and a movie, and you guys have a limo that's being ordered or something.
Yeah.
You have an agent that goes and does all these things, and then it just confirms that appointment, puts the appointment on your calendar. All you did was say, we want to go to our favorite restaurant.
In a limo.
Yeah. Right? That's the full adaptive autonomous AI that I'm talking about, which is where the full agentic nature of this stuff comes in, which is where the monetization models are going to have to catch up.
Right.
Because once you give it full agency, and there is no human in the loop.
Yeah.
How do you begin to figure out that this is what we're going to get paid for?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. And when does that happen too? Call that out.
I'll just tell you right now, Metronome is a company that I think very highly of that is doing this usage-based billing model stuff.
Yep.
They just got acquired by Stripe yesterday.
Oh shit.
So that's that. If it tells you anything,
okay,
it's a freaking big deal.
Yeah, that's a
gigantic big deal.
Yeah.
And it's such a big deal that, and I'm not surprised that Stripe bought them because Metronome was one of their biggest partners.
Okay.
And so Stripe is already moving in this direction. Yeah. And in fact, Stripe, MasterCard, and Visa have a pact to create basically agentic billing services where agents will be paying agents on our behalf to go do and fulfill orders for a food delivery.
What?
An Amazon shipping. Yeah, it's already happening, by the way. There
behind
are
the scenes.
Behind the scenes. And yes, you're going to have a lot of trust where you hand over the credit card to the agent.
Yeah.
And there's going to have to be a lot of security, data security, encryption, and all that other jazz.
Right.
But essentially, I could tell it in the chatbot, order me 3 orders of pad thai. And that's all I say to it.
What?
And it will go and do all of that, provided that it has all of that information. That's the high agencies type of functions that these things are doing.
It's happening today.
It's happening today.
So this is not a future thing. This is you not calling out what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years.
No. But I think
this is happening today.
I do think for your trend though is the monetization paradigms are going to have to catch up, and so that's what we're going to see as these agentic workflows start to continue to evolve. And continue to become more prevalent. 2025 was everybody's like, oh, the year of the agents. I'd argue 2026 is actually going to be the real year of the agentic workflows and true autonomous systems.
Because this was kind of like the ramp up, right?
This was absolutely the ramp up.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And I mean, let's think about it though. We've already seen exponential growth with regard to ChatGPT.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I could chat with it and then do something, and it's like that's cute.
Yeah.
But now we're building agents.
Right.
And eventually, well, what's the next step up? It's like, oh, it's fully autonomous, adaptable agents that can reason within their environments, that don't need any human oversight.
Right.
Right. And to a lot of people, that's extremely scary. For us security professionals, we're like, this is fantastic because our jobs are going to be intact. Yeah. but I mean, that's also a tremendous amount of adversarial risk from the bad guys.
Of course.
Because
they have the same tools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I've talked about this in other podcasts where people are like, well, what do you think is the frontier for security engineering and just hacking in general? And it's adversarial AI.
Yeah.
Where you have bots fighting each other because the humans can't keep up with the sophistication of the attacks. Right. And so therefore we have to have an AI agent or an agentic system interpreting all of the nuances that are going on in this sort of ransomware attack that's being facilitated by a machine and not a human.
Right.
And so for the blue team and the offensive people are going to have to do the same to be able to combat and thwart those efforts.
Oh my God.
So it's that is by all accounts what we're leading ourselves into.
Listen, we just covered an hour just like that. I want you to tell people how they can find Optimo IT.
Dude, thank you. You can find us online, https optimoit.io. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I try to post every day just to share my knowledge about AI security. I'm a part of 2 founding boards, the AIUC, which is the AI underwriting company.
Okay.
And they specialize in being able to do AI security and agentic security, and then help companies be able to underwrite insurance for these things.
Okay.
And then secondarily, also a founding member of the AI Security Council. So we're deeply into this stuff. We've been studying the problems. We've been helping solutionize the problems as well. So I just appreciate you allowing me to come on and share this.
We're going to do this again.
The team.
We're going to talk about quantum computing next time. We're going to talk about other topics that we didn't cover. You are clearly one of those peers in my network group that we can have a conversation about any topic in this space and have relative coherence, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why I like hanging out with you, man. I mean, you got the same sort of intellectual brain, like us. We're all problem solvers. I can see that, and I love working with problem solvers.
Well, listen, man, thanks for coming on the
Nerds
podcast.
are cool.
Thank you.
We're going to catch you next time. And bye, everybody, for now.
Thanks, guys.